Okay, folks. We got a little sad, we got a little happy. But we're wrapping this show up. And I don't know, this episode was satisfying, but yeah, let's just get into it. Let's talk about Pete first, because Pete I thought was a happy story. I've always told you guys that I am a fan of Pete. In all his obnoxious, entitled, bratty ways. I think he's a great character. And like I said, season 6, that I've always wanted him to find his happiness, I guess, is what I've been saying. So this week, Duck came back. You guys remember Drunk Duck. And I don't know. He made Pete think that there was this good opportunity for him, or he wanted him to do a favor for him. I'm trying to just think of how he presented it. But basically, he had Pete meet with this guy who represents a corporate private airline, and it ended up being that, Duck is still a headhunter, so Duck was kind of setting up the meeting so that Pete could get the job that the airline guy needed filled. With me? So, Pete tells the guy, I think, I'm happy at McCann Erickson, and I think Duck set us up for a job interview, and, whatever. The guy liked him, wanted a second meeting. Pete blew off the meeting, and Duck came and said, after you blow off the meeting, he's offering you all this, you get all these perks, you get a private carrier, private airline, at your disposal, a company car, we'll buy you out of your McCann Erickson $1 million contract, all this great stuff, right? So Pete, actually, before this happened, Pete talked to his brother and was just wondering, because, he's actually thinking about this deal. He's thinking, well, maybe I can get a cushy job at this airline and, be my own boss. I don't know. I don't know the details of what the job was going to be, but basically, he was thinking about it. He talked to his brother. His brother didn't really help him. But we know that his brother is a cheater, and his brother talking about, oh, my wife has always liked that I've been attracted to other women. Please. So, Pete takes the job in the end, and he goes to Trudy. Okay, he goes to Trudy. He tells her, I love you. I've always loved you, and, I know I did things wrong in our marriage, but let's go. It's in Wichita, and that'll be great for you. And she hesitates for a minute, but yeah, she still loves him, and she still wants the family unit together, and she's excited at this opportunity. So that was a happy ending for Pete, and I was satisfied with that ending. We got to talk about Dawn, because, the other story I want to talk about last, because, so Dawn is still sort of road tripping it. He's, just driving, nowhere to go. So he goes to this small little town or whatever, and his car breaks down. So he has to, stay at this little hotel. Nice people, whatever, boring town. He encounters this, wannabe con artist, Andy, who I thought was kind of cute. And, not even worth getting into the details there, but, he's definitely like a little wannabe hustler, who, is trying to get money out of Don because he could tell Don is rich or whatever. So, there's this scene where the guy who owns the hotel is like a war vet, and he is inviting Don to this sort of veteran party type deal. I don't know, it's like a vet club or something like that. And for obvious reasons, Don doesn't want to go. But he's like, oh, you don't have to pay for another night at the hotel and all this crap, right? Oh, it's like a vet fundraiser because they're trying to raise money for this guy whose house burned down. Look at Jimmy. So he goes. He's very silent because he doesn't want to talk about his war past, and we know why, because that's when he adopted this new identity of Don Draper, and maybe he's still ashamed of that. So I don't know. This guy tells this. They call him out on him not talking about it, and they're like, well, that's what we do here. We talk about the war because we know it's hard to think about it. Blah 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 blah. So this guy tells a story. Cannibalism? Was that what was going on? I kind of didn't catch the whole story, but sounds like he might have eaten one of his soldiers or something. I don't know. But anyway, they were like, oh, you had to do what you had to do. So then Don comes out, and, I guess he sees that they didn't judge him for that. So they're all like, he feels comfortable enough to tell his story about how he, accidentally killed his CEO, the guy that he took his identity from. I don't think he said that he took the identity, but, they were all like, oh, you have to do what you have to do, and, supportive, and blah, blah, blah. So he felt all comfortable, and yada, yada. Next morning, they come in his room, the guys from the vet thing, and they basically kick his ass because they think he stole all the money that they were trying to fundraise. And Don knows that it's the wannabe hustler Andy who did it, but he doesn't say anything. So they take his car keys, on condition that he's going to bring them the money eventually or whatever. The stupid wannabe hustler, he comes back why didn't he just totally skip town after he stole the money? But whatever. He comes to Don and he gives him some alcohol. That was the whole hustle before. He gave him alcohol and charged him $10 extra, charged him $20. He comes in, he's like, oh, this is free of charge. And Don pushes him down. He's like, oh, you need to return that money, and you want to be this hustler so bad, but you're not even good at it. If you steal this money and get away with it, you're going to have to change your whole identity, and you don't want to go down that route, blah, 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 right? Mirroring someone else a little bit. Anyway, boy gives Don the money. Don gives the guy the money back. The guy gives Don his keys back. Andy, I'm assuming, got fired. I'm assuming that he told him that he was responsible. Andy asked for a ride from Don to the bus stop. Don says yes. Don gives us to the bus stop, and he gives the boy his keys to his car, and he's just like, oh, take it, whatever. Giving the young hustler, the young Don Draper, better shot, I guess, than he got when he was his age or whatever. So that's how we ended with Don. He's at the bus stop with his little bag, his little Sears bag, and we'll see what happens next week. Yeah, I'm interested to see what happens with Don in the last episode. I honestly kind of thought that him and Andy would form some kind of team or something. I thought it was going to be a Butch Cassidy, Sundance Kid type deal, whatever. But the Grifters, yeah, Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kids was poker, wasn't it? Anyway, yeah, so interested to see how they're going to end Don. He's just kind of in limbo right now. And, yeah, he's likable. He's likable in season 7. part 1 and this part 2. You guys know how I felt about him from season 1 to season 6. So yeah, I'm a little bit rooting for Don to find something that's gonna make him, happy, as the show ends. So yeah, Joan wasn't in this episode, so we can kind of assume that Joan is living her happy ever after. Peggy wasn't in this episode, so I hope we'll see more of her next week, because I really did want to see how she settles into McCann Erickson so far. There's been a lot of debate on the Google Plus boards, so I'm interested just to see how she is fitting in. But yeah, they are making Don's story the most, the more intriguing, the story that, I'm anticipating the most to see how it all wraps up. You know what I mean? So yeah, now we can get to Betty and the C word. So yeah, early on the episode, Betty's in college. I don't think I've mentioned that this season, but yeah, she's starting school. I think she says she's going for like a psychology degree or whatever, and she's really happy about it. She says it's always something that she's always wanted to do. So yeah, she's cool, but she's going up the stairs, and she's taking like forever, like an old lady, and then she collapses on the stairs. So they take her to the hospital, obviously, and first they say it's something about her rib cage. She broke like one of her ribs or something, and I'm like, ouch. I think you would probably know that before, whatever. Anyway, it turns out that she has lung cancer. And, I don't know, it sucks in two ways. Obviously it's like it's a realistic sort of, storyline, obviously, but I feel like the whole thing was a way to wrap up the Betty character in a sad but easy way. So, I'm here for the story. I'm here for the way that they ended it with Betty, but I feel like they could have did something a little bit more creative. Now, I understand they were trying to, just tie up her story, her arc, because obviously the way it ended, and I'll get into that, but obviously the way it ended, it's farewell to Betty. We're not going to see her next week, and we're going to know, what happened to her. But, I don't know, Betty was just such a great character, and such a big part of this show. I kind of feel like disappointed that they just kind of killed her off, So anyway, she gets lung cancer. They tell her that she has 9 months to a year to live. And, of course, her husband, Henry Francis, is all over it. He's, like, trying to find doctors that could do all these different treatments. And, he's, like, trying to tell her that she needs to get out of the shock of it all and, make some decisions about the treatment and all this good stuff. But, yeah, she's really sort of, yeah. Hard to describe, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. So she doesn't want to tell the kids yet, and I think that's her main, the main thing on her mind is how she's going to tell the kids. And Henry actually goes to Sally's school, meets her, and he tells her that your mom is sick and she's being really stubborn because she doesn't want to do any of the treatment, and I need you to talk to her because she'll listen to you. And she's in shock, and he's like, oh, it's okay to cry, and then he starts like bawling, and that was really sweet. I thought that was really sweet. Anyway, because, I don't know, have we seen Henry Francis be emotional at all on this show? I don't know, it just felt it was a good moment for me, because I like Henry Francis. Henry or Harry? Henry, right? So yeah, Henry brings back Sally to the house, and you know, just from the look on her face, Betty can tell that she already knows, and she just kind of storms out. Then later on, she goes into Sally's room, and they chat, and she gives her this thing. These are instructions the minute I die, and I don't know. Does she tell her then? She's just basically like, you need to live. You need to live your life. I watched my mom die, and I don't want that for you. I want you to go back to school. You know, you're, you know, a strong woman, and all this good stuff, right? And she says something about how, you know, she's gone through a lot of things, and you know, she just knows that it's over, and you know, she knows when it's time to move on. So Betty's ready to die, and she gives Sally the note, and the note is basically like, you know, this is my favorite dress. I want to be buried in this, and tell them how to do my hairstyle, and this is, you know, this is where the clothes are, and you know, all these preparations. But then she says, you know, Sally, you've marched to the beat of your own drummer, and you'll be great, and yada. So, while, you know, Sally is reading that letter, or she's not reading it, she's reading it, but then, you know, Betty is doing the voiceover, and so while that voiceover is going on, we see Betty going up the stairs slowly, and then she turns a corner, and then she's not there, and then the episode is done. So, I actually don't think that was the last scene, but you know, that the show is done for Betty, and yeah, I have my feelings about it, but I think that ultimately, yeah, it was realistic. It did feel sort of authentic to the show. I felt like they could have did a little bit something more interesting, something more creative, something more unique, but I'm here for it, and I think that was a good way to send her off. I actually didn't think that we were going to get any more Betty for the rest of the show, so I'm glad that they definitely like respected her character and how it's a very important character in this show. You know, the last couple of seasons we've only seen bits and pieces of her, which makes sense because she's not married to Don. She's not really connected to the advertising in the New York and the world that we are mostly in with this show. But I'm happy that, you know, they gave her, you know, a proper send off so that we weren't like, oh, well, what happened to Betty? You know. Anyway, I think that's it, and the series finale is next week. That's cool. Oh, and they're doing like a marathon. And I wasn't able to check, but they said it starts Wednesday, and ends, you know, on Sunday before the series finale. So I'm like, is AMC just going to be totally dominated with Mad Men from Wednesday to Sunday? I don't know. I'm going to figure it out. But, you know, I would recommend definitely checking it out. I know a lot of you guys have Netflix and stuff, and you can check it out there easier and don't have to worry about missing anything. But if you don't have Netflix like myself, then check it out, because I think I will be. Some of those episodes are really, 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 really great. So that's it. Until next week. I decided to get this done today so that I can upload it Monday morning, because, you know, they've been late. So anyway, I don't know why I just said that, but like this video, comment, subscribe, and share. And I will see you next week.